Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's workshop with CircuitStream. Today we are focusing on intro to XR development, and we're going to have a little bit of a workshop with a special guest who I'm going to introduce in just a moment. Before we get there, I always like to double check and make sure that everybody can see me okay, everybody can hear me okay. So if that's the case, feel free to just let me know in the chat log off to the right, or you can give some thumbs up. Perfect. Awesome, awesome. And on that note, so the chat log is off in the bottom right-hand corner. We also have a questions tab and a polls tab. I dropped a poll into that tab right away at the beginning here. We will drop a few more of those in throughout the presentation, but feel free to check that tab and interact with any polls. We also have the questions tab down there. The questions tab is meant for Q&A at the end of the presentation. So feel free to put your questions into the chat tab if you like, but if you'd like to kind of go through it in Q&A format at the end, just do it into the questions tab, and we can make sure that we kind of put it up for the whole class to see at the end, is the way that I normally say it. So without further ado, actually, I'll also invite everybody in the chat to share where you are joining us from. Personally, I am from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. That's actually where our company is founded from. Alakan, yes, great question. That is actually a very good question. I should mention that as well. We will be recording this entire session and providing it to everybody who has registered. So feel free to take notes. You can take screenshots. You can do anything, but you will get a full copy of this as well afterwards. Vancouver, Michigan, Toronto, another Calgary, Nigeria, Ontario, Tel Aviv, Malaysia, Toronto. Amazing, amazing. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here. Half Vancouver, half Jamaica. That sounds like a really good split of two locations that I would love to be in. Kenya, all of these sound like great locations. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here. Without further ado, I'm going to get the presentation portion kicked off here. So I will make this a little bit bigger here. And what I will start with is a little bit of an introduction of myself. So my name is Tyler. I am the marketing events manager at CircuitStream. I've been with this company here for just over 2 years. I previously worked in travel and tourism for about 10 plus years. It was kind of pre-COVID times, I guess. And I'm also a video game enthusiast. I would consider myself a senior Fortnite player. We will also be joined by Indy in just a little bit here. Indy is the instructor manager at CircuitStream. He's worked and led the design and development of multiple shipped games, and he will be conducting the workshop portion of today's session. So he will be joining us on stage in not too long. Before I get him up, I'm going to start off the presentation by giving a little bit of a quick overview of who CircuitStream is. So CircuitStream began in 2015 through a network of developers, designers, and creators who were pioneering the virtual and augmented reality ecosystem. CircuitStream saw a need for education and training that would empower people to build Unity and XR applications and advance the industry's frontiers. We now partner with industry-leading companies and leading educational institutions to offer courses and training to those looking to learn more about emerging technologies such as XR, game development, and game design. And you can see some of our partners up on the screen there, so university and some corporate partners as well. I said this last time I was presenting. I do apologize. I live close to a fire hall, so this is bound to happen every once in a while. If anybody can hear the fire truck in the background, it should be gone any second. There we go. Perfect. So I do apologize. I'm going to share a little bit of information about the XR industry and opportunities within this space before we jump into the actual workshop itself. Some of you may already know about XR and what it is. Some of you may have heard recent buzz around the new Apple headset or the Meta Quest headset releases that happened earlier this year. Either way, we wanted to give you a brief overview of the industry. So XR stands for extended reality, which encompasses virtual reality, augmented reality, and also mixed reality. The XR industry has grown immensely in the last few years and has made its way into a wide range of industries such as gaming, film, music, manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and many, many more. Many companies use XR for training simulations, interactive customer experiences, project visualization, learning experiences, product development, virtual tours, and so on and so forth. So it is kind of everywhere, I guess, is the main message here. The demand for developers in the XR space has grown dramatically and continues to grow as these technologies become more common. I've broken down the average salaries for development roles in both the US and in Canada on screen here. So as you can see, both countries offer highly competitive compensation in this field. And again, and just whenever I do stat heavy slides, I like to make sure everybody knows there will be a recording of this full session sent out to everybody at the end. In case any of you kind of trickled in after I said that at the beginning there, just want to make sure you know you will get a copy of this session recorded. In order to create XR experiences, you need to use some sort of development software, of course. The one that we teach in this course specifically is called Unity. If you haven't heard of Unity, Unity is the world's leading platform for creating and operating interactive real-time 3D content. You can use it to create games, visualizations, immersive experiences, and much, much more. Again, you'll get all of these stats and this information in the presentation recording. And without further ado, I am going to go ahead and invite Indy to join us up on stage here. Indy is going to jump into the workshop portion today and share a little bit about an intro to development. So without further ado, welcome, Indy. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome, welcome. Good morning. I hope you can hear me. Hope you can see me very well.
We can. I'm just going to make you bigger because I don't need to be as big now, but and I will let Indy take over once Indy's finished. I will hop back on and share some information about the courses, the upcoming start dates, if anybody has any questions, and we'll do some Q&A at the end there. So, but go ahead, take it away, Indy.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. Let me see. There we go. My legendary whiteboard. All right, let me know if you can see my screen properly. All good? Awesome. So today's idea is to, get into virtual reality development. But first of all, I have a question. Like, who here has like no idea about Unity, 3D, like VR in general? Not just VR, but 3D, Unity, like nothing. No idea about anything. We need a thumbs up. We need a thumbs up. I come from the design side, not dev. All right, we have some thumbs up. Just casual. Started learning Unity a few weeks ago. That's amazing. I'm a documentary filmmaker coming from healthcare. All right, awesome. So it seems like there are a lot of new people. Like there are a lot of people who are very new to virtual reality and sometimes a little bit of 3D in general, right? So today what we're going to do is we're going to actually learn to how to build something on Unity, which is a VR application. Oops, what happened? Whoops. All right, I'm here. I'm still here. Cool. And what I thought of doing today is to actually give you some principles, right? So this is something that we teach in our courses as well. Just to explain some principles in detail, so you're not just blindly following me along building something. As a matter of fact, you are actually like learning some fundamental elements of virtual reality and, of course, 3D, a little bit of 3D in general, right? If you are following along with me today, you can do that. I'm going to be really slow of everything. And also, I believe you have Unity downloaded, installed, and opened a new project, right? Because that takes a little while, and I don't think I need to take a lot of time today to do that, because downloading Unity itself is a huge task, right? So I believe you have Unity installed, you have it open. Let's get this started. So what I'm going to do today is actually to build a VR meditation app. Which version do you recommend? You can choose any version. I'm going to be using the latest Unity version. So if you know about how to install Unity, you just need to go to unity.com and you'll see a huge tutorial on how to install Unity. Today, I'm going to be using 2022.3. But even if it is a lower version, like I've been using Unity since 2015. I know that from 2020, 2018 to 2020, they've actually upgraded their versions that runs on top of another tool called Unity Hub. So as soon as you have Unity Hub, that means like you go to installs right over here and go to install editor. Whatever the version that you have right here is enough, right? You can just choose any pre-release or archive or anything that you want. Still using 2021, that works, no worries. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go to my project section, And I'm going to create a new project. Right. So this is Unity Hub. It's if you have issues opening up Unity Hub, first of all, you need to make sure that you have Unity. You have a Unity account. So that's how Unity knows that you're actually developing things. Right. So I'm going to go to new project. And from here, I'm going to be choosing 3D URP. All projects stay within Unity Hub versus your actual computer. It's just the projects in your computer. Sometimes it disappears from Unity Hub, so you need to make sure that all of your projects are in a proper, like a known location. Okay, so I'm going to be using 3D URP. If you are doing this for the very first time, you will be able to see something called download template. It just takes a minute to download. Go ahead and click 3D URP. You can, if it takes time, you can also go to 3D Core. There's a little bit of a difference, but it's not relevant to today's session. So go ahead and click 3D URP. And from here, you can choose a location, give a project name. So for me, I'm just going to give VR meditation. I already have a project with that name because I did a little bit of a demo before the session. And go ahead and click create project. So this takes a little while, right? This takes a little while. I already have it open. So for you, until it opens up, I'm going to close this, right? So you have to just click create project, right? And after a while, you'll see something like this. But for you, it might take a little while. So what I want you to do is I want you to download this file. You click on it, and it will just download a small file called, what is it called? It's called VR meditation assets nature.unity package, right? So this is what's going to be called. Just click the link, and it's going to download. It is going to download something called a Unity package. It's something that I made just for this VR workshop, right? So it's exclusive for the people who are in this VR workshop, and it's with an MIT license. So if you want to use it for your future projects, go ahead and do that. There's literally nothing but just a small 3D model, but I'm gonna explain what it is. Where is the link? I just posted it over here. Okay, let me just put it. Do you see it? There you go. It's not actually a page or anything. You just put it in your browser or just click it. It will download a Unity package. Let me just put it a multiple times so you can see it, right? Okay, so what is actually virtual reality, right? I'm gonna take like 5 to 10 minutes just to explain some basic concepts. So it's actually gonna be easier for you to like implement those things. Obviously, the tool, why we don't teach the tool a lot is because tools change, right? Like a new version comes in, and how you do that is a little bit different. So, but the principles remain the same. So, what is virtual reality? So, imagine that you're actually playing a game, right? You are playing a game, and this is what you see through your monitor. And this is you playing a game, very happy. You have your gamepad with you, right? And here you have a character walking around in a 3D world, right? So what is the difference between an actual game, a 3D game, or a 3D interactive application, or a VR application? So if you look into this a little bit more, right? This is actually a 3D environment. Just to demonstrate it, I'm going to draw some axes right here. There you go, a 3D space, right? A 3D space. And we have a character, right? The 3D character is somewhere in the scene. What the player sees through the screen, right? This is the screen. This is what we see through the screen, is actually coming from a virtual camera, right? So there's a virtual camera. There we go. So whatever this virtual camera captures, go to this screen, right? So let's just say that we pick up a gamepad, just like this, and we move our thumbstick around. And what happens is that this camera moves around the character, just like this. Oops. So in the screen, you can see like you're looking the character from a different angle, right? Obviously, to develop something like that from scratch, you need to know a little bit of mathematics, because this is, it's mathematics, right? So what I literally drew is known as a Cartesian plane, a 3D Cartesian plane. It's a mathematical term. And we need to arrange the position, the rotation, the scale of the object in order to make things move, right? So we need a little bit of mathematics. So in VR, what actually happens is that the camera that moves with your input on a gamepad is replaced by a virtual reality headset. How does that work, right? So imagine in a VR game, you are the character, right? You are not actually looking at a character, like it's more like a first-person game. You are the character, but your movement is calculated and transmitted to this virtual camera that is inside the game, right? So let's say we have a character. This is the character. So now, instead of the virtual camera looking at the character, now the virtual camera is on the character, or I must say in the head of the character, right? Pretty fun. But now, how do we actually move this around? This is where the virtual reality headsets comes into play, right? So virtual reality headset is actually not just a output device, right? So when I was learning computer like 20 years back, we learned like what are the input devices, what are the output devices, stuff like that, right? Output devices are like the TV monitor, not the TV monitor, computer monitor. Speakers are output devices. Input devices are like microphone, mouse, keyboard, touchpad, or a pen, or something like that. But when it comes to a virtual reality headset, this is a combination of input and output devices, right? So if you own an Oculus Quest, you can see all these small like cameras, right? You can see small cameras. These cameras, not just the camera, but there are some sensors, right? There is one sensor called accelerometer. I'm not sure whether the spelling is correct. And there's another one called gyroscope, right? Gyroscope. So gyroscope and accelerometer, and it has some cameras to determine your relative position, right? So you put up the VR camera, and it checks with all the sensors your relative position in an actual environment, and it transmits that data to this virtual camera. Now, there's a lot of mathematics, a lot of processing going on, right? Sensory processors, like it captures all the sensor data, it transmits everything in some way to Unity or to any other 3D application, and somehow it has the capability to move the camera back and forth, up and down, forward and backward. And not just that, we call it yaw, spin, and rotate. What is the other one? This one, right? Okay, so now the input or these details that comes into the 3D world, it moves the whole thing around. That means the camera now moves around. It kind of feels like when you're moving in the actual world, the same movement, the same relative movement is applied into the 3D world so that the camera moves, right? Now, I said that this is actually like an input device, right? So there is also the output portion. There is also the output portion where the camera, whatever the camera captures, it transmits back to the VR headset, right? So this is an input-output device. All right, how do we do this now, right? There's a lot of stuff that we have to do. As a matter of fact, we don't need to do a lot of things, right? A lot of the stuff is made easy for us by the developers of this hardware and software, right? So one of this is known as Oculus integration. So somebody who needs to develop an application to an Oculus Quest, what we basically do is we download some of the software that they have created, and we create our solutions on top of that. So all the hard work, the mathematics, the transmitting of data, everything is already done so that it can be reused by me, somebody like you, to build different applications, right? Why they do that? If they don't do that, then like it's going to be like a really challenging situation for everybody. As a matter of fact, it's how it used to be like 20 years back, when VR was like a research thing, not actually a consumer thing. But then eventually people started creating it more available. So somebody who's with lesser knowledge in terms of development is capable of building a VR application, which is pretty cool. And to help you with that, we have different 3D applications. One of these different 3D applications, or we call them 3D engines. Am I the only one unable to access the file? You do not see the file. In fact, you will download the file right away. Let me see if I can give you the link. So this is actually a different link. Let me share the link with you. If you go to this link, you will be able to see something very similar to this, right? You just click this and it will download a file called VR meditation assets, and we can use it. Okay, so I believe you have some sort of an idea about like how things work in VR compared to a normal 3D application. Are we good to go? Any questions? How far is the leap between developing virtual reality and augmented reality? What is easier? Well, it's a really good question. Now, I don't see a difference in between either of those. It's pretty much the same thing. The thing is, like, let's take a mobile device, right? We are like looking at the actual world through a camera, right? So import the assets once downloaded. Yes. So you're looking at through the camera, and it's different. I'm not going to take a lot of time to explain that. Basically, the device works as an input-output device, because this device or mobile phone has an accelerometer, it has a gyroscope, and also it has a camera. Like you can see the camera, right? If you're having like a like an iPhone 13 or something, I think 12 or something, you have like a small sensor right here. I'm not sure whether it's visible. This is known as a LiDAR sensor. It has it's very quick to recognize the area. I also feel like AR is more difficult because you have to take into account the real world data. That's correct. In fact, like VR solutions also has the same challenge sometimes, because it depends on the application that you're building, right? Sometimes you'll be building a very relaxed application, very much similar to the one that we're going to be doing today. Or sometimes you'll be making like a very intense application. And sometimes you want the actual world to be replicated in the virtual world so that you'll not stumble across all the obstacles, right? So you're actually using the actual world physical objects in the virtual world, right? So it's totally different. It depends on the application. Yeah. So if you have questions, put it in the questions channel. If it's not like a generic question, if it's related to the thing that I'm doing, just put it in the chat so I can see it and answer right away. But I like to talk about that AR versus VR thing when we go to the questions. So good question. Thanks for asking, Janice. Awesome. Right. So now let's get back into this. All right. So if you are very new to Unity, don't worry, because Unity is just a tool, right? So if you want to learn Unity, of course, you can learn with us, but we also strongly encourage you to look at the documentation of Unity. Because it is a tool, it doesn't mean that anybody who knows a little bit who knows VR knows Unity to the extent. Unity is a tool, right? So you can learn about the tool. I'm not going to show you like the very basics of Unity because it's going to take a lot of time. Can I deal a VR game without a VR headset? You can, but you will not be able to test it a lot, because obviously to test it, you have to have a VR headset, but you can develop. If you have Unity open right now, you can do that. But you know what? We're not going to be doing any coding today. We're just going through some components. I'll explain what happens there. Okay, so Unity and Unreal, and there are some other software like Godot engine. There is another one called Cry engine. All of these 3D engines offer the same thing. Unity, on the other hand, is very flexible and very accessible when it comes to building VR applications, because Unity itself, the software that I talked about, the software that actually makes it easier for us to build stuff, this and the output part, the calculation and everything, Unity has done that by themselves. So we don't have to worry. Unity has reached out to all the hardware manufacturers. They have requested their data, their software, and everything is now integrated within Unity. It's just a matter of a click or a couple of clicks for us to install all of these tools so we can use them. All right, so let us get into the Unity project. Right, so as soon as I start the project, what I can see is the 3D world, right? The 3D world that I explained. And also you can see something called the main camera. If you double click on the main camera, you can see that, it kind of shows you where the main camera is. And also when you go to the game window is right next to the scene window. You will be able to see what the camera sees, right? So if you're making a game, what the camera sees is what you see when you're actually playing the game. If you have a VR headset, what you see over here is basically what this virtual camera sees, right? So we have to find a way somehow to put that camera into our head, right? That's the whole idea of building a VR app. Okay. I only see one window at a time. Yeah, so this is, I'm not sure how to get it. I think something new that they came up with. If you don't see this, that's fine. But you should be able to see game versus scene, right? Those are two windows. You can also drag this game window from this tab right here, right? You can drag it and you can just dock it right somewhere else. Usually I like to dock the game window right here, so that way I can see both of the windows, right? I can see the scene window and I can see the game window. If you want to navigate, right? If you want to navigate in this scene, the easiest way to navigate is to hold your right click, and you can move up and down, move mouse up and down. So you can feel this like a head. You move mouse up, that means you look up. You move mouse down, that means you look down. And sometimes you can even like flip your head. Don't do that. If you accidentally do that, the easiest way is to just double click on the main camera again, and it will just zoom right next to the main camera, right? All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to install some packages, right? Unity by default does not include those packages. So first of all, we need to activate some of them. And the first thing that I'm going to do is to install the package that I gave you. Right? Okay, so if you have the package should be now downloaded like this. You should be able to see the package. It's called VR Meditation Assets. You can do a couple of things. You can double click on this, or you can just click it, drag and drop onto the project window, right? Any other window doesn't work. Make sure that you have selected the project window right at the bottom of this, right? Drag and drop the asset on the project window. All right, there we go. So once you do that, it will show you a window of what it actually going to install, right? You can see there is something called bended screen, a video texture, a sky, something called a video. We need everything. So let's go ahead and click import. Okay, it's pretty quick for me. And now once that is imported, you will be able to see something called VR meditation assets, right? So we're going to be using them, but not yet, right? Not yet. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the window menu at the top of this, the window menu. And here I'm going to go to Package Manager. Right? So how did I get this? I went to Window menu and selected Package Manager. Right? So Package Manager is kind of like a repository or a tool that allows you to download and install packages, which enhances the capability of a default Unity editor. Right? For an example, currently we have this, you can see the tick sign. That means these packages are already installed. That means Unity can do more things than than the default editor used to do, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this. You will be able to see a drop down at the top. Couldn't drag the assets into the main screen. It is not the main screen. You have to download it. You have to drag and drop it on top of the project window over here. Or another easy way to do that is to just double click on it. I just double click and it will show you what Unity to open. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. One other thing that you can also do is to go to Assets menu, Import Package, and Custom Package. And from here, you will be able to choose where you want. Like for example, I can go to Desktop, and this is where I want. This is where my package is. You click Open. For right now, I can see that everything is already here, so it just doesn't show me anything new, right? So how to do that? Go to Assets, Import Package, and select Custom Package. All right, so now that we have the package manager, we're going to be installing 2 different packages. But first of all, we need to click this drop down, and we need to make sure that we are in the Unity registry. Right? Unity registry is kind of like a series of packages that are already downloaded and in your computer, but they're not activated. So first of all, we need to activate them for our project. Right? So I'm going to go to Unity registry. Right? So we opened up Package Manager from the window menu, and we selected this drop down and chose Unity registry. Now I'm going to drag all the way down, because it's XR, right? X is all the way down. And as you can see here, we have a couple of packages called XR Interaction Toolkit and XR Plugin Management, right? XR Plugin Management and XR Interaction Toolkit. So XR Plugin Management is a package that provides the management of different XR plugins, right? So Oculus or Meta has its own package. HTC Vive has its own package, or maybe Google's VR headsets has its own package. Apple Vision Pro is coming, maybe they'll have their own package. So we cannot manage everything by ourselves. So the coolest part of Unity is that they already have something called plugin management, and they manage everything. So we just have to build on top of it, right? So go ahead and click XR Plugin Management and click Install right here. It's going to take like a couple of minutes. So when you install a certain package, is this only available within this project, or is it always on your machine? If you download an asset, if you download a package from the Unity registry, a new package, right? Any new package, it's going to be downloaded, but it's not going to be added to new projects. If you download it, it's going to download and it's going to install to your current project. If you want to start a new project, that means that new project is just a bare minimum project. So you have to install that package again, right? I just created a new project, so I need to install this package. It's not already installed. I open the custom package, but can't open anything after. You just have to click the package. You just have to select the package where you downloaded. So one thing that you can do is, you can try to, let's say, right-click over here, go to custom package, and it should show you this. So you just have to go to the place where you downloaded your Unity package, click that, and select open. Okay, another question is, how often does this plugin gets updated? We never know. It's Unity who knows it. Unity says where they get updated. You can see the XR plugin management was not updated since February 16, at least for this version. And XR interaction toolkit is like, it's pretty pretty recent. Sometimes you may see, like, depending on the Unity version that you're using, sometimes you may see a different version, right? So don't worry, right? We are going to be using the bare minimum components of it. So there's nothing new that we need to be careful, right? Okay, so XR plugin management is now installed. Now we need to install XR interaction toolkit. So we can download many packages and only activate a particular package for each new project. Yes. So there are different repositories, right? There is Unity registry. Unity registry is managed by Unity. It's there. There is something called My Assets. My Assets is where if you go to Unity Asset Store and if you download assets from the Unity Asset Store, they're going to be appeared in My Assets. There's another one called built-in. Sometimes you don't need, like, let's just say that you made a game without user interfaces. And you don't really need these user interface elements. So you can just disable that, right? So these are like built-in packages for a bare minimum project. Sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't want it. So make sure that you disable everything that you don't need, because it kind of adds an overhead to your application, right? All right, crystal clear. Awesome. So as I said, I'm going to go back to Unity registry, and I'm going to click XR interaction toolkit, right? XR interaction toolkit, and click install. This is a very troublesome package. it's the one that manages everything, like the movement. I mean, it's kind of like a layer in between the hardware manufacturer stuff, software, and our stuff. So like, I remember before XR interaction toolkit, I only see options that say models, materials, textures. That's it. If you can see that, then there is a button called import at the bottom. Click it. There should be button called import. Click it, and that's it. That's pretty much it. You don't have to do anything else, right? After that, you will be able to see something called VR meditation assets over here. Anyway, when you're installing XR interaction toolkit, Unity says this project is using something called the new Unity input system and needs to restart, right? So there's nothing we can do but restart. So let's go ahead and click yes. Otherwise, the application wouldn't work until we restart our project, right? Okay, so this is what you have to do. First of all, go to Package Manager and install XR Plugin Management, and click XR Interaction Toolkit, and click Install, and go ahead and click yes. Now it's going to ask another, it should ask another message. Oh, there you go. There is something called Interaction Layer Mask Update required. You just go ahead and say yes, right? I made a backup. Go ahead. All right. Oops, there you go. It's gone. Now we need to wait until it restarts. Okay, so meanwhile, let me just get back to the legendary whiteboard. So we were talking about the head, right? We're only talking about the head. Some VR headsets, now the Apple Vision Pro doesn't have that. Whoops, what did I do? Yeah, Apple Vision Pro doesn't have that, but other VR headsets have that, which is a controller, right? We have a controller. The controllers are different. It's pretty weird. This is a controller. We have buttons, right? They too have the controller right here. It has, you don't see that, but it has a bunch of infrared bulbs. And a device like Oculus Quest, it has infrared cameras in front. Also inside of this, I'm not sure, I think they do have a small gyroscope and a small accelerometer, so it can track the movement. But in order to track the accurate position with respect to the head, what it does is, because the VR headsets track your position, your relative position to the floor, right? If this is the floor, it tracks that position. But this, it cannot do that. It doesn't track the floor. Instead, it tracks the headset, right? So that is why you have this ring around it. I know that the new VR headset, it doesn't even have the ring. So basically it has the whole set of processing happening within the controller itself, which is good. But like earlier devices with, like, if you can see something like this, that means it's a bunch of sensors. If you break it, that means it's not going to work, right? So these sensors, these IR cameras, has the capability to track your, track the controllers, right? And what it does is it uses the same scenario, the same method of data transmission to not only track the movement of the camera, track the movement of the head so that it can replicate the virtual camera. It also track the controllers, right? So these are controllers and transmits that data. This is purely an input device. It's not an output device, right? There is nothing. In a way, yes, because it has some haptics, vibrations and stuff. But yeah, we can consider that as an input device. So what it does is it has the capability to move a couple of objects in the 3D environment, right? So when you move your controllers, you have some objects that you can manage, and those objects will move around when you move your controllers, right? But today we're not going to be moving our controllers. We're only focusing on the camera, the head movement, and let's see what we can do. All right, so now we have installed XR Interaction Toolkit and XR Plugin Management. There is one thing that we need to do is we need to go to XR Plugin Management. Sorry, XR Interaction Toolkit, my bad. And go to Samples and click Starter Assets. I said that Unity has everything, built for us. This is something like that, right? So we have some starter assets already, so we don't need to worry about building everything from scratch, right? Go to XR Interaction Toolkit again. It's now installed. You can see the tick. Go ahead and click Import. And this is going to give you a new package called Starter Assets at the bottom. Right over here, you can see Samples, XR Interaction Toolkit, the version number, and inside of that, you have something called Starter Assets. Okay, now this is the moment. So before actually implementing VR, let's actually implement the meditation portion of it, which is going to be pretty simple. I don't want to build a very a huge scenario because today's my intention is to get to know you the principles of VR, how you actually take those input and move your cameras inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up an environment, right? So the easiest way is to play a video, because I saw this nature video. It was really soothing. The music is really amazing. It's amazing. It's a really good video that I found on YouTube called 8K Earth. You can go ahead and check it out. But I am giving a link to that video, right? You don't need to download the video. If you want it, you can do that. But there you go. I had to upload it to one of my cloud storages. So what we're going to do today is we're going to stream that video, right? So we are not going to download because it's a pretty big one, pretty big video. We're going to use this and we're going to stream that video into Unity, right? So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the sky, right? I don't like the sky. I want to change this. So a sky is built up on something called a material, so that the material kind of colors the sky, right? What I've done is I've created a different material that colors the sky, right? So if you go to VR Meditation Assets, go to Materials, and we have something called Sky. Just drag and drop it into the world, right? It's pretty black, right? It's black. If you click the material, right? So this is what I did. I went to Materials in VR Meditation Assets, and I dragged and dropped it into the sky. Now I'm going to click the sky, and you can see here that it's basically just black. It's a black color. If you want the color to be changed, you can just change it from here. Okay. And also it has something called spherical HDR. There is one thing. I will talk about that a little later. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to models, and there is something called bended screen, right? Because this is VR, I wanted this to be immersive. So it needs to be kind of wrapped around me, right? It's pretty much similar to a huge home theater that's in front of me, but it's curved, a curved display that's in front of me. So I went ahead to Blender and I created this 3D model called bended screen, right? You can click that and you can see that it looks like this. It looks like a bended, bended. Nice. I wanted a bended screen. Oh, there you go. You have a bended screen. You can use that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drag and drop it into the scene. Right. Okay, so now it's the time to like work out a little bit, work out your 3D, 3D skills a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to increase the size of this, and I'm going to reset the position of this, right? You can see that it's not in the correct position. It's like flat on the floor. So we need to like flip it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these changes, right? Click the bended screen, bended floor, and go to position and change it to 0, 0, 0. And I can see it's gone, but it's visible through the camera, right? It's gone from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just double click on the bended screen, which will just take me to the bended screen. And also, the sky won't drag on mine. What does that mean? Oh, no, you don't need to do that. If you're in the game view, make sure that you are in the scene view, right? If you hold your right click and move around, this is what you can see. But today, we're not going to use a lot of tools, transformation tools. What you need to do is from here, click the bended screen. And in the inspector window, there is another window over here where you can set the position, the rotation, and the scale. I'm going to change the rotation to 180, right? 180, right? 0, and again, 180 around the z-axis. Right, there we go. Now we have the screen, but it's looking at this direction, right? And also you can see that the camera sees the screen now properly, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to apply another material on this screen, right? We're going to add another material on the screen. So to do that, I'm going to go to materials, right? You can see the video material. It's called video. Pretty straightforward. And I'm going to drag and drop it into the screen. Okay, now everything is black. The screen is black, the sky is black, everything is black, right? Okay, so what I did was I dragged and dropped the sky material into the sky or onto the sky. And then I added the bended screen, moved it around. I might need to scale this a little bit. Maybe what I can do is I'm going to click the this button right here and change the scale of this to 1,000 by 1,000 by 1,000. It is pretty big now. You can see that's pretty big, right? It's a huge screen now. Okay. Now, this is going to be very cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click the hierarchy window, right? Right-click the hierarchy, and I'm going to go to video and select video player. Right? Pretty straightforward, right? Right-click the hierarchy, go to video, and select video player. Okay. A video player is a component created by Unity, as you can see right here, right? A video player is attached to an empty game object, and it has a component called video player. And you can see we have something called a source. So if you have a video in our project, we can just drag and drop that video clip over here. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to stream that video, right? So click this source, click the drop down, and choose URL from here, right? Because we can now stream that video, and just paste the link that I gave you. Right? Click the URL from here and paste the link. Make sure that it has https storage.googleapis.com experiments.vijaysurya.com. That's my name. I had to put it in one of my hard drives. So I'm going to remove it, right? Otherwise, I don't want this link to be spammed. I'm going to remove it eventually, but you can use it to test, right? This is my free offering for you to for a while to test it. There's a video, an MP4 video in the cloud. All right. Now, that is pretty much it, right? It will automatically play the video, but this video player is something different. There are different ways of how you can play this video. In 3D, in order to actually show something, right? In order to show something, we need to create a material, and that material has to have like a image or something, so that image gets wrapped around this, right? This is very basic 3D. There is an image, and that image gets wrapped around the 3D model, so that way you can actually see something in 3D, right? The colors and everything in 3D. So how to do that to a video? If you select the bended screen, now this is actually a pencils down moment. You don't need to follow me. If you select the bended screen, you can see that we have the material right here. And when I expand this, right? So without the mesh renderer, there is no screen, right? You can see that. No mesh renderer, no screen, right? Mesh renderer is the one that's actually making it. If I remove the material like this, there's no screen either, right? I removed the material and I just added like a blank material and it's pink, right? That means there is no color. It's an error. We call this the error color. But let me just undo this. I have this video material, right? It is the video material that actually provides a color to this, right? For an example, right now, let me just quickly show you this. Right now, the color that I have, you don't need to follow along. No need to follow along, right? The color that I have can be changed, right? What if we add a photo? What happens is that the photo is going to be, dragged across this whole screen. We call that UV mapping. So we can map the UVs to this banded screen. Not going to talk about that today. Let me undo this a couple of times. What I have here is, instead of an image, we have something called, right? Now this you can check, right? Go to the materials and select the video material. And over here, you will be able to see something called base map. And right next to base map, we add the video material to the banded screen. Yes, you have to do that, right? Now the video material, it has something called video texture. In Unity, we have something called a render texture, right? A render texture is something that can actually retrieve some external source and render an image, right? So this is what's happening. Let me just go to my whiteboard. So we have something called a render texture. Render texture. Imagine, just consider this as a JPEG, right? Or a PNG, or basically a camera photo, whatever a photo, right? This is like a photo, but it's known as a render texture. We don't have a value there. It's like a blank placeholder, right? Now what happens is that our video player, right? We have the video player. It streams the video from the internet, does its Jingomagic processes, and projects that to the render texture. Does that make sense? We have the video player streams it, does its processing, and projects that to the render texture. It talks to the render texture and says, hey, render texture, just draw this, right? In this second, in this second, draw this. In this second, draw this. In this second, draw this, right? So it keeps on drawing a render texture. So that means the photo that we have, this placeholder photo, it keeps on changing every time. Does that make sense? No? Put a thumbs up if it makes sense. Put a thumbs down, it doesn't. Okay, you don't need to, if it doesn't make sense, let me know. Right? I can explain it again. So this is what it does. Exactly, like a GIF, but in this case, it's the video player that manages it, right? Now, I said, if we have a 3D model, let's say that this is my texture, right? My texture is this. So a material has the ability to get that image, and wrap it around a 3D sphere. So it looks like this, right? This is a 3D sphere. It's 3D. I don't know how to draw 3D, but it's 3D, right? So this is what a material. This is one of the things that a material can do. Now imagine instead of this, we added this render texture over here. What happens is that every second, this texture gets changed from the video player. That means every second, the face gets changed, right? So it's kind of like a small animation that runs in a 3D model. So you can create billboards, you can create like, faces with videos, you can do wonders with Unity. It's very amazing, right? So the video texture, how to create a video texture? You can just write, it's not a video texture, it's called a render texture. Now, pencils up moment, if you want to follow along, you can create that by right-clicking a project window, right? You can right-click the project window. Can I import 3D camera video into Unity? That is a little bit challenging. This is mainly for 2D, like just flat screen video, like normal video. It doesn't have the processing capability to process any other depth information. If we are to do that, then we might have to use like separate, like different information just to like, I don't know, demonstrate the depth, right? So you can create that using, just create, and over here you'll be able to see render texture. We're not going to do that because we already have that, right? Render texture. So the render texture, I've given a size of 1366 by 768. You don't have to do it because I've already given in the assets. Now, what happens is that we need to go to the video player, right? We need to go to the video player, and we need to tell the video player, hey, video player, this is the render texture, the target texture that you need to project your video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this video texture. You can see that this video texture is inside the textures folder. Just drag it into the target texture, right? Select the video player that we created and drag the video texture into the target texture. That's it. Okay, so now 50% of the work is done, right? You can see we have a tick called play on awake. If you want to loop it, we can do that. Now, the thing is, this video texture is the same video texture that is used by both sky and the video, right? If you go to material and select the sky, you can see that the sky also has the same video texture. And also, if you select the video also has the same texture that gets projected by the video player, right? So if you've done that, go ahead with me, click the play button, wait a little bit, and see whether it works. All right, let's give it a moment. Let's give it a minute. There you go. You can see that even the sky is. This is pretty immersive. I tested it in VR. It's great. Like you can literally see it in VR. It's amazing. Okay, now. Video player cannot play URL, video storage, experiments, not automatically expanded because 44.6 is too large. Anybody else get this the same? Okay, so this is one thing that you can do. Not automatic, that's strange. One thing that you can do is you can import that video. It says you have to subscribe to 8K art. That's strange. All right. Anyway, this is something that you can use. You can download the video, right? Let's just fix it first. Okay. So if you go here, yeah, if it works fine, then it's okay. But if you get the error, just load the video in a browser window, and from here you can click this and download the video, right? Download the video, and then you can import that video into Unity. Right, it's not recommended for now, but just for this, let's do that. Then what you can do is, let me see if I have the video with me. Yeah, I think I have it. Yeah, so if you download the video, I'm just going to drag and drop that video into, yeah, it goes into texture folder, but you'll be able to see the nature video right here. How did you add the texture to the sky? I added that using the material. If you go to materials, you just have to drag and drop the sky into this, and it's going to be appeared there. But I'll talk about that in the questions. If you can ask that question in the questions panel, I will separately explain, because we did not add VR into this yet, right? So that's what we're going to be doing now. Which VR headset do you recommend for beginners? I would recommend the Oculus Quest because it's pretty simple to use. It doesn't have a lot of cables and stuff. You can build it. It runs in both it runs on both PC and Mac. This is the best way to. I mean, Mac, of course, you cannot run it. You can build with a Mac. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, now is the time for us to add the camera. And right now, you can see our camera is way over here, right? It's way over here. It's too close to the screen. You're gonna be blinded. But we are going to do that. We are going to attach a head camera. So select the main camera and delete it from the screen. Go on. Right? Now you can see that it displays no cameras rendering. That's fine. We are also going to delete this directional light. We don't need a light in our project. Remove that. And also we're going to remove this thing called global volume. We don't need that either. So we're going to delete that. So in our scene, we only have the blended screen and the video player. It doesn't matter if it goes back to black. That's fine. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the virtual reality component to this. So to do that, I'm going to right click the hierarchy. And I'm going to go to XR. And from here, I'm going to choose XR Origin VR. It is that simple. Right? We don't have to build everything from scratch. I mean, if you want, you can do that, but we don't need to. We are going to select XR Origin VR. Okay. So now you can see that it added a couple of components. One is called XR Interaction Manager. Sorry, a couple of game objects. One is called XR Interaction Manager, and the other one is called XR Origin. Right? If you click this small triangle right next to it, it has a tree view. If you expand this, you can see we have XR Origin, and also we have camera offset, and there you go. We have a main camera. Right? We have a main camera. This is the head, right? This is the main camera, and it is the head of us, right? So how does this work? If you select the main camera, and if you go to the inspector window in your right-hand side, you scroll down and you will see a bunch of additional components. You can see there is something called track pose driver. Look at this. Track pose driver. It tracks the rotation and position of the headset. And also these are the input. It checks the center eye position. It has something called center eye position, and it uses that details to manipulate the transform component. Big words, don't worry. Basically what this does is it tracks the headset data, it transmits everything into the headset, and also it actually moves the virtual camera up and down. It just rotates everything around, and basically now you are in VR. right? Also, it has the left-hand controller and the right-hand controller. But today, I'm not going to be talking about these components because it's a little too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the left-hand controller and press delete. I'm going to select the right-hand controller and press delete. We don't need either. Right? So we have the XR origin, we have the camera offset, and we have the main camera. So it is the main camera that actually does the whole series of process. But we need to do something, right? If you select the XR origin, you can see that the origin is way over here, right? Sometimes if you're really new to Unity, if you're really new to 3D movement, then sometimes it can be a little bit too hard to actually recognize where this thing is, right? For an example, you can see that the XR origin is over here, but our screen is way over here. It's very hard to like realize where we are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the XR origin. And first of all, I'm going to set the position of this to 0, 0, 0. That means it's going to go right next to the screen. As a matter of fact, right on top of the screen. So I'm going to change the position to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Now you can see that I'm not sure whether it's completely visible because I don't have any video or anything. But you can see that this is my screen, and this is where the XR origin is, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the Z position of the XR origin to minus 20. So now you're going to be over here, right? So you're going to be over here, and you're looking at the screen from this perspective, right? You can adjust it, right? If you know how to manipulate the 3D models in the scene, you can do a little bit of movement. In my case, I'm going to move this a little bit up because I don't want to look down to see a video, right? I want to do this. I just want to see, like, and I want to relax, and I want to be like this, right? Okay. So there are a couple of things that we need to do. The first thing is we need to select the XR origin. Right. Select the XR origin. And here we're going to change the tracking origin mode to device. Right? Tracking origin mode to device. We have another option called floor. When we choose the floor, this position is going to be considered as the floor. In my case, I don't want a floor. I want to walk, that's fine, but I don't want a floor. I want my head to be here. If you select the floor, your feet is going to be here, and your head is probably going to go up. That is known as the camera Y offset. It's known as the Y offset, how many meters that it needs to be up compared to the floor, right? So in this case, we don't need that. So I'm going to set the tracking origin mode to device. And I'm going to change the camera Y offset to 0. Right? So what happens there is that when you run it, it's going to be like your head is going to be here. And then you'll be able to just move your head around. Okay. So now the complex development part is done. So these are the components that you're going to be using. If you are building VR applications using XR Interaction Toolkit. XR Interaction Toolkit is just another framework provided by Unity. It's actually a toolkit provided by Unity. It's more like a series of components that is made by Unity in order for us to reuse interactions, like grabbing things, looking up and down, moving things around, things like that, right? And it's very easy to set up. And I didn't even open up any script or code in order to make this work. Right? Obviously, if I need more interactivity, then I need to use C# or C# programming language to create our own custom interaction. But today we don't have time for that, and we're going to be done with this, right? Okay. So there is one other thing that we need to do. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Edit menu, Edit, Project Settings, right? Edit Project Settings. Can you explain again how to connect the downloaded video to the video player? Yes, I'll do that. You can follow along with me on this, and then I'll tell you how to do that. Right? So go to Edit menu and select Project Settings. And select XR Plugin Management. XR Plugin Management. And over here, you can see we can enable plugins, right? We have something called Oculus, OpenXR, and then we have different modules. So if you have installed different modules like Android, then again, you have Oculus here. Pretty much that is it, because usually most of the standalone VR headsets comes with the Android operating system. So you need to go to Android and you need to choose Oculus. Or you need to go to PC, and if you are building a PC VR application, make sure that you enable Oculus here. If you don't have an Oculus device, then this wouldn't work, right? If you don't have that, you have to enable OpenXR. There's not a lot of differences. You just have to tick it. That's it, right? You just have to tick it. But in this case, I'm going to be using Oculus plugin provider, right? So I'm going to click this. Mine is grayed out. Strange. That's strange. Like even if you go to Android settings, is it grayed out? If you have OpenXR ticked, then Oculus will be grayed out. If you have Oculus ticked, then OpenXR will be grayed out, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click Oculus, which is going to take a minute to install the Oculus packages. If both of these are grayed out, then that's a problem. I have never seen that thing. Is both grayed out? That's strange. Yeah, both are grayed out to me. Is this same for any others? All grayed out? Okay. Let me see if I can troubleshoot this. It's okay for me. Oculus and OpenXR grayed out for Unity. One thing that you can do is to go to Package Manager again. Go to XR Plugin Management. Right? Go to XR Plugin Management. Remove this. Do you have the version 4.3.3? I'm stuck in the sample scene screen. That is a different. OMG. Okay. What's the situation? I forgot to import. Okay, cool. All right, you need to make sure that you have XR Plugin Management installed, right? Go to XR Plugin Management and install. Click Install here. Right now I have 4.3.3. So Errol, I know that you have a little bit of trouble just moving things around. So what we can do is after this session, you can jump into our Discord channel, and me or any other instructor is going to be there to help you out in our tech support section. I'll show that to you when we go through the questions. Awesome. All right, cool. Now, if you enable OpenXR, you'll now be able to choose Oculus. So we have to choose either of those, right? So I'm going to be choosing Oculus because I have an Oculus Quest. All right, so that is pretty much it. So one other thing. If you have a Mac or a VR or a non-VR, how do you call it? VR non-supportive PC, you will not be able to run it on your PC, right? This is very important. Even if you are if you want to develop, you can develop on any computer, any PC, or any Mac device. So Ala is asking the link to Discord. Maybe Z or maybe David, if you're around, you can just choose the invite. You can just paste the invite link for our Discord community, so you can jump in and ask any question. Okay, so the question is about the build process, right? If you want to test this on PC, right on it, then you have to have a Windows machine that supports VR. It needs to have a proper VR capable graphics card. It needs to be a little bit powerful. But if you don't have that kind of PC, not to worry. What you can do is you can go to Android and you can enable Oculus here, or OpenXR. If you want to enable OpenXR here, first of all, you need to enable OpenXR here, and then you'll be able to see OpenXR in the Android module, and you can do that. Do I tick Oculus on the Android tab in XR plugin management? If you are not building for the, if you do have a PC VR, then it's fine, right? Okay. So I'm not sure that all of you will be able to test it right away, because it needs to have a little bit of other configuration to do as well. But I strongly recommend you to jump into our community and ask any issue, and we have instructors who's ready to help you out. Cool. There you go. Z has posted the Discord community invite. Just jump into it, and there is a channel called Tech Support, and you'll be able to ask any question, and an instructor will help you out. Okay, so I will just explain my scenario, and there are some videos that you can find in our YouTube channel as well on how to build onto an Oculus device, right? Okay, so in my scenario, I'm using a PC VR. I'm using a VR capable PC. And because of that, I have installed another tool, another software called Oculus, right? This is the Oculus software. And using the Oculus software, I'm able to run something called Oculus Link. Now, the Oculus Quest right here is a standalone device. I don't need a cable to run VR applications on this, right? Instead, what I can do is I can go to Android and I can create a build, and I can install that, and then standalone run that application in my Quest, right? So that takes a little bit of time. I'm not going to explain that today. If you have a VR PC, then what I can do, because I have a VR PC, what I can do is I've connected my PC with the Quest, and you can see that it is now connected. Oculus Quest 2 and Touch is now connected over here. What I can do is I can run something called Oculus Link, right? We can run something called Oculus Link, where we use the Oculus Quest as a PC VR headset. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to open up Oculus Link, and then I'm going to click play. So this might take a minute. So let's see how this thing works, right? All right, this is actually the demonstration, right? We have done the development portion. Okay, so I'm going to open up the Oculus Link page. Let's pray that this works, because sometimes it's can be a little bit glitchy. Okay, now it says you cannot find the headset. Let's stay for a while and see. Okay, now Oculus Quest is up. Because it is up, what I'm going to do is I am going to run this. Okay, because I'm running multiple software and a lot of hardware work going on, probably the video rendering might be a little bit glitchy for me, but let's see how this works. Okay, so when you click play, usually what happens is Unity keeps on converting all the software made by Unity in a way that it can run. So that's why it takes a minute. Let's see how this works. All right, it's coming up. Okay, there you go. So what I can see in front of me is all right, the audio is a little bit glitchy, but this is nice, right? So what I can see here is very immersive. I can see the whole video. It's wrapped around me as well. It's in front of me. All right, there we go. It's cool. All right, you'll like if you just play this on your PC, or if you found a way to just put it in, if you are able to put this into your Android like standalone headset, just do that, and like you're literally gonna cry, because it's a really nice video. The music is great. It's really good. It's all about nature, and it just calms you down. Let's do this. There you go. So that is the end of the presentation. I know some of you have a lot of questions about putting this onto Android. Do you see the edges on your banded screen when wearing the headset? No. This is because it renders here. It kind of resamples it down, but you don't see it in VR. It's very crisp. Obviously, it depends on the device that you're using. So yeah, that's what happens. I know that this is very, like, I couldn't cover everything. We have some issues with the time, But I strongly recommend you to jump into our community, and we are happy to help you out. So I'm going to give the stage back to Tyler to end the presentation and go to questions.
Perfect. Oh, I'm muted. There we go. Perfect. Thank you so much, Indy. As usual, amazing presentation. I love when I get the opportunity to learn from our instructor. I mean, I work with a company, but it's not very often I get to sit in a classroom and learn from our head instructor myself. So thank you so much, Indy. I'm going to share a little bit of information here. I will mention as well, we are going to drop a couple more polls into the polls tab. One of the polls is going to ask about your understanding of the course that we're presenting today. I'm going to share some course information right now. So if you do see that poll in advance, just maybe hold off on that one and let me share some of the course information before you respond to it. It could also obviously go hand in hand with the other workshop presentation. And then there should be another one dropped in there as well. So feel free to engage with those. I'm going to keep you up on stage, Indy, because I'm going to invite you back up shortly here for the Q&A portion. So for now, I'm going to do a little bit of course information. So today's focus, of course, was on the XR development with Unity course. We did intro to XR dev and kind of getting your first hand at developing an application with Indy here today. But the XR development with Unity course is designed for individuals interested in starting their journey into XR by using Unity and C# coding. It is beginner friendly, it's project based, and it's delivered online. The course has both synchronous and asynchronous weekly projects and assignments, and there are 8 hours of classwork and 5 office hours per week as well. Students would complete this course with an XR developer certification. I'll show you an image of that in just a minute. And by the end of the 10 weeks, you will have learned foundational Unity skills. You'll learn how to code in C#, and you will learn how to develop AR and VR applications. Obviously, we didn't do a deep dive into the coding aspect today. That's a little bit heavy for an afternoon workshop online here, but of course, the course itself would dive much more into the coding aspects. I did mention Unity and C# previously here, and I'm sure Indy mentioned some of these as well, but some other tools that you'd be using in the course, examples on the screen here, such as AR Core, AR Kit. We are always reviewing the materials that we offer in the courses or that we use in the courses. So depending on when you took the course with us, if you have previously, if you're looking at it, you may see some new tools in place. You may see some things that have changed. We're just constantly updating and trying to keep all of the software that we're using up to date as well. And I did mention that you'd be finishing course with the certification there. This is just showing you the portfolio of projects that you would get as well, the digital badge that you can add to your resume and to your LinkedIn. And also when you join the course, you are getting access to our community on Discord. I think we actually shared the Discord community in the chat here as well for the attendees. So I encourage everybody to get involved with that, ask questions, connect with other like-minded individuals. It's a place where a lot of developers and designers come together. We get a lot of students that end up developing projects and in group projects together after they've completed the courses with us as well. So we've had people submit games, lots of fun things. So the current community has over 1,200 active members. And the community itself is available for everybody during the course and after the course. So once you've graduated, we don't boot you out of the community. We keep you in there. We encourage everybody to network and to connect with each other. So here are the available time slots for the courses in both Pacific and Eastern time zones. This just makes it a little bit easier for you to kind of figure out which one would be the best for you if you're looking at taking a course. I can pause here. I know I mentioned earlier in the presentation that this will be fully recorded and shared with all of the attendees. So just in case you missed that earlier, I just want to make sure I reiterate that, and you will get a copy of all this. So if you want to go back and see the times again, just reference the recording. We typically run the course every few months. The upcoming cohort begins on October 3rd and runs through to December 7th. The cohort following that would be from January 8th straight through to March 14th, and that would be in 2024 in the new year. And we are going to go over on, I was going to jump into the QA. I'm going to go over the pricing here first. Forgot I had a little bit more information to share with you before we jump into the QA. So there's 2 different packages for this course. There's a starter package, which is great for people who already have a little bit of experience, may not need some additional experience or assistance rather. But if you're a complete beginner and you'd like to have a little bit more of a personalized support, from an industry expert, we do offer the Plus package. So with that, you get access to the premium community features, such as access to challenges, premium workshops, content, and more. We do also have early bird pricing available right now. This is Um, yes, we have McGill as well. Yes, thank you. I can see that in the side there. McGill is also a partner as well. Um, so the early bird pricing, the cutoff is actually tomorrow. So it was not put together for this event. I'm just sharing the information at the end of this event and kind of letting everybody know that there's one more day if somebody was looking for it. The package is normally, the starter package is normally $3,950 and it's currently on for $3,555. And the plus package is normally $4,950 and it's on for $4,555. So really good discount. Again, that discount ends tomorrow. I think as long as you reached out to anybody by, I'd say probably about 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, because that's where a lot of our staff are located here. At least I know we'll be accepting applications up until that point tomorrow. That's probably a safe bet. But if you have any questions, just reach out and let us know. If you're thinking about it, but you just need like a day or so here, just connect with us and let us know. We can see what we can do for you there. And then registration is officially open, as I mentioned. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and book a meeting with our team. I believe we are going to share some links in the chat if we didn't already, for meeting links, basically. So if you're looking to take the course directly through CircuitStream, there'll be a link there for that. If you're looking to register through the university partners, we will share links for those as well. If they're not in the chat yet, they should be there in just a few minutes here. Is the early bird available for January 8th? I believe so. I'd have to double check and see. If you register by the cutoff tomorrow, oftentimes we will allow the current promotion for the next start date as well. So just let me know, reach out to the team here. We can see what we can do for you. But I know, especially if the cohort was filled, we would look to offer the same discount for the next course, just so that you had an option there. So that should be okay. Perfect. And then that's it. I'm gonna, without further ado, I'm gonna get Indy back up on stage here. We're gonna go through a little bit of the Q&A portion. And I know that Indy shared or was going over a lot of the questions during the presentation because they were relevant to the actual workshop and to what you guys were working on. But I'm gonna take a quick look through. Welcome back, Indy.
Welcome back.
This is a great one. Let's start with this one. This one's for you, Indy.
Yes.
How far is the leap between developing virtual reality and augmented reality, and which would be easier?
All right. So this brings up my legendary whiteboard. Okay. So remember, I talked about this whole thing on having like the camera be like having you as the camera. I mean, for augmented reality, it is pretty much the same thing, right? I have a lot of stuff over here, so I'm not going to use that. But let's just say that we have the 3D space, right? And this is you looking at the phone, and you have a phone pointed towards something, and the phone has a camera, right? The phone has a camera as well. Now, what happens is, as I said, this has a gyroscope, and this has the accelerometer, right? So it can move around, so it knows what to do. The virtual camera in the 3D world is mapped to not to the head of you, but to the mobile phone, right? So this, the color is bad. This movement of the mobile device is now mapped to this. Now, how does it make augmented reality? Now, this virtual camera, obviously, it sees the 3D world, right? If you place a 3D model over here, let's say a 3D model of a cube, you can see the cube because the camera can see it. Now, what happens is that behind the camera, it has another screen, right? It has another screen. And this screen is kind of fixed to this camera. So if you look up, right? If you look up, the screen is up. If you look down, the screen is down, right? So what is this screen? Whatever this camera captures is going to be mapped to this screen. So if you're looking at an actual tree, that tree will be placed over here, right? So we can see the tree, and on top of and in front of that, we can see the cube, the 3D cube. But this is like a flat image, right? It's just a video of what you see. And this is it. This is the cube, and this is what it is. So ultimately, Through the screen, what you see is the cube and the tree behind, right? So there's a bunch of mathematical processes that's going on in order to actually map the floor and the post and a poster or the face or anything to actually like place the cube properly. But this is the very basics of augmented reality, and that's it. If you want to make a game, it can be VR or it can be AR. It's just how you present it is what's changed. So in our course, in our XR development course, we basically go through some logic, how to build logic. And even if it is a VR course or an AR course or whatever it is, the logic remains the same. You can even scrap AR or VR. It becomes just a game that you can play on screen. Like, just like what we did today, we just created something that's just 3D, no VR, and then we added VR into it. There you go.
Perfect. And I have to apologize too on the side. I put the question up on the screen and I completely blocked your presentation that you were showing. So hopefully everybody saw that okay. I tried to move it out of the way. I'm going to put the next question up, but then if you use the whiteboard, Indy, I'm just going to take it off quick so that we can make sure that we see what you're doing there as well. Perfect. So here we go. What applications can be created using XR in healthcare, and how do you see the future of XR and AI?
So this is a question with X instead of VR and AR. So X, I think, is a relation between augmented reality and virtual reality. When it comes to healthcare, there are this itself is a part of healthcare, right? It's mental health. You can obviously use something like that to calm yourself down if you're feeling too much, then of course something like that will definitely calm you down. But on top of that, what sort of other things that we can use in healthcare? One thing, of course, that is actually being in the world right now, is healthcare training. There are certain other tools, like there is a tool called a haptic device. So it's a device that is attached to like a rigid surface, and it's more like two arms that you can move around, and you can grab those two arms, and in VR you can map those two arms into a precision device. So there are VR applications where medical students, they practice operations in VR using those haptic devices. The problem with this is that the tracking is very glitchy and it doesn't move around. But this haptic device, it's very rigid. It's attached to a desk, and you can actually feel and just it's more like you're actually holding the actual driller. If you're doing operations, you drill, right? Sometimes I remember actually testing something similar, and when you drill it down, like when it reaches the bone, it's very very disturbing. When it reaches the bone, you feel the vibration, like you feel the actual vibration, very immersive, and it actually shows you how to do things. But let's just say that you're an AR application, right? You don't know how to give CPR, you don't know how to do like basic medical stuff, and all of a sudden you can see a patient right in front of you, and you can actually use something like in AR, and you can just map the patient and say, I need to give CPR. What do I need to do? And it will show you, like, touch, do this, do that, give this medication, put a syringe in here, right? So those are the things that we can do. And the other question is the future of XR and AI. So XR has been there since 1960. I was doing a little bit of research on like what sort of AR applications that were there. Like the first ever AR application was built in 1960s, and there has been so much of unheard VR devices came before, like long before Oculus and HTC have actually taken into the consumer world. It's been there. AI has been there since 30 years. Like people have been developing everything, so it's never gonna die. It's not something that's not gonna die. It's like it's been there for a long time, and it's going to be there as well in the near future. It's not going to be like a huge, of course, with tools like ChatGPT and things like that, AI, and also like Meta doing things like metaverse. There are trends, right? There are trends that goes up and down, but the principles, the things that you learn, the basics, they remain the same. And it's your it's your out of the box thinking that actually builds new products and services that actually uses these tools, right? So it's nothing that's gonna die. It's gonna be there around until for the eternity, but the technology is gonna change, keeping the principles the same.
Perfect. Yeah, and I guess just to add to the first part, basically any like healthcare, any industry where somebody would need to train in an environment that's not necessarily safe, or where it may put somebody else's life at jeopardy, like in healthcare where you're doing surgery on somebody. It's a lot easier to test in an environment where it feels almost exactly the same as reality versus testing operating on a random person. So, you know, XR can definitely help put you in a lot of spaces. It helps with architecture. It helps people kind of envision what spaces would be like to be in without having to physically build them. So it's amazing in all different industries, but for healthcare, yeah, that's your example kind of nailed it. That was perfect, Indy. So so let's see, what else do we have here? How to add the imported video to the video player.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Like,
That's
this
me
is
asking a
Indy.
question to myself, because this is a question that somebody asked, and let me just show. So once you drag and drop the video, as you can see, I have the nature video over here. It's pretty easy. What you have to do is go to the video player, and if you remember, I chose URL over video clip. Now what you have to do is just go and select video clip here instead of the URL. And you have multiple options. You can drag the nature video to this, or you can just click this dot right next to it and choose the video that you import. That's it. Once you've done that, it's going to play. Just if you still have issues, jump over to the Discord channel and ask a question, and we are happy to help you out.
Perfect. I'm going to put this one up here too. Now this one, can this course be covered by Stronger BC Future Skills Grant? I'm not sure. I know that different people have looked to apply for different types of funding for our courses. Our admissions team likely has more information on that than I would personally. The best thing I could recommend is that you just book a meeting or reach out using one of the links that we shared earlier and book some sort of a connection with the admissions team here. They can take a look for you and they can confirm whether or not that would be an option for you. Outside of the grants, we do also have finance plans available for students in Canada, for students outside of Canada, in the US. We've got different sort of options, so they can kind of go over that with you as well. And even if a grant was or wasn't available, they can certainly let you know the financing options that we can do through the company here. So, so yeah, hopefully that helps with that. Sorry, I don't have a direct answer for that specific grant. I'm not quite sure off the top, but so let's do here. What is your framework for creating a game? Example: conceptualize, storyboard, execute.
What you said is accurate. It depends. I mean, yeah, there are no right or wrong answers for this. In my case, it totally depended on the project. There was a situation where I wanted to do everything and I started doing everything and I got stuck in the artwork side. I'm not that bad at art, but I was hoping that I can do it, but I couldn't come up with a proper idea. And I was stuck for like months without developing. And so if you have like, the first thing that you need to do is to understand your capabilities. Like if you're going to do it, then like, if you're good at like maths, or if you're good at programming, then of course the development side is the way to go. But if you're good at design, then I mean, it doesn't hurt to learn development because you know the ups and downs, you know how a developer would think. So you can actually like support that in terms of the art perspective. Number one, understand your capabilities. So once that is done, then the next thing that you need to do is to like, keep an eye, like come up with an idea that is doable within your specific time. Right? Sometimes you start working on the very smallest thing, and then it comes to a like you want to add this, you want to add that. Then sometimes it never ends, right? So don't do that. So if you have a time frame to do or to work on your game, just stick to that. I mean, you can pivot a little bit, but not too much. If you are like adding a lot of features and if you're not actually finishing it, then that's a problem. So if you have that, then what you can do is to have a rough sketch of an idea of what you're doing, what sort of mechanics that you're working on. I think it's very beneficial if you start working on a game design document at start. So you know, like these are the mechanics that we're going to be building. And these are similar puzzles that we are going to be working on. And once the very basics are done, then it's going to be pretty easy for you to work on the rest. Okay.
Amazing, amazing. I'll do that one. And then this one here, must XR be applied on games? How do we fit into other sectors like retail, corporate, virtual platforms, hospitals? Do you understand that one, Indy?
Yeah. So I think it like must XR be applied on games only, or you can just move it to other sectors as well.
Oh, yes, yes.
I mean, when it comes to engagement, I've seen a lot of the higher market share in terms of VR applications around the world is pretty much towards games. And people like this one right here, I imported this as a video game console. it's very that's how I had to import it when I was in my country. Like that's how they categorize that. So obviously when it comes to games, there are a lot of use cases that that goes into the game world, because you can tell stories, you can perform interactions on it. But I have seen many use cases that works outside of just games in general. Like for example, like VR Zoom Teams. Obviously, those are there, right? For example, Spatial is one of those platforms. They have moved on to something different, that like metaverse kind of things, which is buzzword for me, which is a buzzword. It's more like a VR multi-user environment, which allows you to like talk and just immerse yourself in a virtual world. But on top of that, we talked about health sector, right? And we talked about retail. Like for example, I saw an example today of an application where you invite somebody from Home Depot, and that guy comes in with a VR headset, and you can wear it and you can map your whole room into VR and just walk around and see how your room is going to be like once it's done, right? It's pretty cool, and you can even customize it. I don't want this color here, I want that color, and it actually saves time, right? On top of that, there are a lot of meditation applications, right? There are fitness applications that are in disguise, like they are disguised as games, but they are fitness applications, right? So it does not get limited to just and Z says an example, IKEA Place. That's not a VR application. That's an AR application. And also you are working on you have used filters already, right? You've used for entertainment purposes. You've used that. So there are unlimited number of use cases, and those are not limited to the ones that are available right now. There's going to be new use cases in the future as well, and I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say it can be applied, but a lot of times gaming is actually used as the tool to teach or for training. So there's apps that are not games, there's games, and then there's games that are used for training as well, which is really interesting, I find. So so perfect. Let's see. Oh, I went back over to the chat tab there. Let's see if we have more questions. Oh, this is a good one. Is there a lot of overlap between Unreal Engine and Unity VR programming?
Okay, so the question is VR programming. I would say there is nothing like VR programming. As I said, the logic is exactly the same. Either it is VR or AR or whatever it is, the logic is exactly the same. It's how you perceive the inputs and outputs is what changes, right? So in Unreal Engine, it has its own way of creating logic, and in Unity, it has its own way of creating logic. You can use the tools that are given to you by Unity, or you can just create your own scripts by using C#. In Unreal Engine, you can use something called blueprints, or you can create your own scripts or own code using C++ programming language. Whatever it is, you are creating your own custom interaction, which is basically something that happens in a 3D world. What matters, what defines that a VR application is that you integrate that interface, right? If you remember, in my scene, I just added an XR origin, and it has all the components that it works, right? But the rest, the video player, the blended screen, and everything is just in 3D. So there is not a lot of, I can't say it's an overlap. It's just how the tools work separately, but the principles are exactly the same. 3D models, materials, skyboxes, like video players, and everything is pretty much the same.
Awesome. Definitely answered that better than I could have. So, can Unity integrate with Adobe Captivate?
Okay, this is a tool that I haven't used, so I'm just looking at it what it is. Learning Design Revolution. Okay, so this I think is a platform where it's more like a slide deck, like presentations, something like that. Is that right? I'm not sure, because in Unity, it has some assets that you can import. Like, for example, you can import videos, images, just like this, or materials, or you can import fonts, 3D models. I'm not sure what Adobe Captivate exports, but there is no direct integration with Adobe Captivate, as far as I know, because it's a different tool. Whatever that you can export from Adobe Captivate, if it supports Unity, then of course you can import them into Unity. But at the same time, if there are certain logic that's not available in Unity, you may have to build it by yourself.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure about Adobe Captivate myself, so I was also going to Google it really quickly.
Yeah, it's more like a presentation. It kind of look like Adobe Google Slides for me.
Okay, that makes sense. And then we've got one more question in the questions tab here. Do you think the demand for XR developers will grow? In my country, I came across very minimal demand for developers, but I'm definitely seeing it growing in the near future. I say absolutely. I mean, I'm in a lot of conversations. I go to many conferences. I can see many different industries adapting this, and the need for XR developers seems to be growing exponentially. But I'll let maybe Indy weigh a little bit on that as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually went to the Augmented World Expo this year. It was great. Like, I've seen a lot of, like, the growth was exponential. Like, people are researching, people are building different types of hardware. They're still testing. I'm not sure that I got convinced to all of these devices, but there are some actually was pretty immersive, and what they provided was really, like, they were amazing. The incredible use cases. Like, one of those examples was in the manufacturing side and operations side, where I used a Magic Leap device, and I could see a huge chunk of, how would I say, network devices, network switches, and you can see the real-time status of it. I can see that it actually benefits a server farm or something like that, right? So there are like unlimited number of use cases. It's just that we have to figure out a user-friendly way in every case, because I think even though like it was there since like 1960s, it is now that it's become more consumer level, not more enterprise, but more consumer level. So this is more like a new animal. We don't know what that animal looks like, animal talks like, right? So we have to figure out different ways. And I've been in this field for like 5 to 7 since 2015, and I've seen a drastic improvement. Like, the very first VR headset that I used, it didn't have any controller tracking. It did not have like it did not have 3 degree of movement. 6 degree of movement. I can move my head like this, and the whole experience comes with me. It's very annoying, right? And there has been a huge improvement. I had so much of experience in the first like series of Oculus Developer Kit, and then I moved on to this, and I was like, wow. Like that. I mean, I moved to Oculus Quest 1, and I thought, wow, like, there's not going to be any further development than this. And then I moved to Quest 2, and I was like, again, wow. Right? So now I know that Oculus Quest 3 is going to come. I haven't tested Apple Vision Pro. I need to do that somehow and see how it works. I've seen that people were mesmerized by how that works. So it is going to grow, and Apple actually releasing something similar, it kind of validated the market, which I'm happy. Even though if I'm not a fan of the product itself with the price, I'm happy that they are in the competition right now. So it's good.
That's what I was going to say too. For so long, it's just kind of been meta in the space and holding a lot of real estate. So, and as we know, Apple is a big brand across the board, and they've just kind of introduced this as their next, phone or watch or whatever the case may be. So it kind of solidifies a lot of stake in the XR industry, I think overall, seeing that competition come through for sure. So awesome. And then will the growing use of AI hurt opportunities for programmers and developers? I don't, from what I'm seeing so far, and even for myself, I mean, I'm not a developer or programmer, but even in my day to day, I'm using AI now to assist with my work. So as far as I'm seeing, it's becoming more of a tool that people are using versus something that's capable of kind of taking over fully what you're doing. You still need some human interaction to kind of guide the end result in a lot of AI functionality. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. Maybe I'll let you weigh on that as well, Indy.
Yeah, so I think so currently the challenge, like let me just take AR, augmented reality in general. So currently what we're doing is we're just rendering things on top of the actual world, right? So as I said before, we have this screen. So let me just take this time to reiterate this. I'm going to minimize this so now you can see it, right? So I was saying the camera is there, the screen is here, and you can see what the camera sees. Like it's a tree, and the tree is like the view is in a screen. So this kind of feels like a gimmick, right? You just put something in front, that's it. But I kind of believe that there's going to be a new, obviously it's going to take a lot of effort in order to build something similar. Right now what happens in AI is that there is something called generative networks, right? So that's what we're using in Midjourney, OpenAI, ChatGPT. Everything is like it's using a generative neural network, which is nice, right? And those generative neural networks now are in a way that it can run real time. Amazing. Midjourney is not real time. It takes a while to generate, right? But with all these Snapchat AI models, you have seen like how like crying faces and everything in Snapchat, they're using AI models, right? It's AR, but it's using AI models to actually render this, right? So what may happen in the future is that the tree, and right now what happens is we have the tree and we just kind of create this gimmick. Instead, it's going to take all of this information and put into the exact picture that we're doing and use AI to actually render things on top of it. Right now, there are certain challenges that we are facing. We are facing the challenges of rendering, the realism of it. More realism means more processing. More processing means like it hurts the battery of the phone, so it doesn't run well. And more bandwidth, that's a lot, right? So people are going to figure out a way to merge AI and XR. And right now it's happening, right? It's in the research side. Obviously, there's going to be a new product or new service or something new that's going to come in the future, which merges the whole thing. I don't think that AI kind of pushes XR down. It's just that AR kind of merges XR into it. And I think this is a very rapidly changing field. And we might need to jump into AI as well in the near future. Just to there's going to be another workshop, how to use your own AI model to create an AR application, right? Let's see how it's going to go.
I'm sure it's coming in the future for sure.
It is coming. Yes, I can see it.
And it looks like we have a follow-up question to the Adobe Captivate. Can you export Unity and import into virtual reality? So I guess Adobe Captivate must have a virtual reality component built into it.
Yes. So looking at the link that has provided, I was actually looking at it. So Adobe Captivate is not just a Google slide, but it's more like a course creation platform where you have the interactivity. I must say, so Adobe Captivate, so this is more like an authoring tool, right? So it's more like an authoring tool. So you have that platform, it can do certain things, and that's it. So if you want to build your own custom thing, I'm not sure whether it has that capability. So they have a virtual reality integration. And I must say, if you are happy with what Adobe Captivate provides, I think you can go with Adobe Captivate. The tool doesn't matter. As I've seen, what this gives is more like a platform to generate, like to add your own 3D videos or 3D photos. in a way that it's not actually 3D. It's more like a 3D sphere that works. So that works with your movement. So this is something very similar to what we did today, right? What we did today is it's a 3D sphere, right? So I can change the color of this, and I can change this through 360 photo, and whatever that's in the sky is basically the 3D video. But if you want to build the same thing, and if Adobe Captivate can do it within just a couple of minutes, I must say use Adobe Captivate, because it's created for that. It's created for that. Unity is like a sandbox, right? You can build anything that you imagine under the capabilities of Unity, right? So right now, like we did this. We added the 3D blended screen, we added the sky, we added a video. Pretty simple, but it's a very custom thing, right? It's an idea that came up to my mind yesterday. I was like, okay, what do I need to do for the meditation project? I was first thinking to create like a huge 3D world, but then I realized that's not going to work. Let's do something very simple. And that came to my mind. So if you want to build something very custom, then of course you can do it in Unity. I'm not sure that it has like a direct integration to Unity. To virtual reality, yes. To Unity, I'm not sure.
Perfect. Well, that's probably good for now. We didn't know the software before the question came through, so hopefully that helps, and we can probably provide more information. Of course, just reach out. Good, we're getting some thumbs up there. I think that's a good sign. So how challenging is the development course for someone with a UX design background? So, I mean, the courses themselves, the 10-week courses are considered beginner friendly. But what I always let somebody know is if they're coming from a design background, the development course is going to be quite a bit different. You're going to be learning C# coding. You're going to be, heavy in the world of coding and development versus kind of on the prototyping and design side. So a lot of designers will come and they go down the design path, and they move from having a background in UX design and kind of combine that with XR design. But then we have a lot of people similar to what you've asked, and they're curious and they want to know, what does that leap look like to go from a designer background into a developer? And so the best thing I can say is, just maybe make sure you're aware of what you're going to be learning, and that you will be learning coding languages, but at the same time, the course is beginner friendly. It's meant for people with no prior experience. And we also have the Plus package as well, which is going to offer you even more support. So yeah, and I'll, as I usually say, I'll let you weigh on that too. Indy, I can see you smiling there.
Yeah, I think it also narrows down to what you actually expect out of the course. Like for example, if your intention was to learn this and then to create a business, to create an app or a product that actually does more custom thing that Unity itself does not provide, then of course I must say the dev course is good. But you need to know that it has coding. Why we teach coding is you need to know coding to understand the ways, the ways to build your own thing, right? If you want to build your own thing, you need to know the way to instruct the computer, build this, right? And if you just want a prototype, if you want to get into the design perspective, I know that if you are a UX designer, what you do, you're not actually developing the app, right? You're designing the UX. You're not doing the design part. You're saying the developers, hey, developers, this is where the button should go. This is where this is how the animation should happen. So Unity has that capability, right? And there are some other tools as well that are more easier to build stuff than Unity. So our idea in the design course is to get you into this, teach you the principles, the basics. Once you know that, jumping into one tool from another tool is fine. You can learn the tool from a documentation or YouTube, or there are lots of resources just to learn the tool, but learning the tool itself is not the most important part. The ways of working, learning the ways of working is the most important part, right? So if I'm working in Unity, what I know, I try to explain the principles, right? How the 3D world works, how input works, and how it moves around. So that doesn't change from Unity to Unreal or to another platform. It's pretty much the same thing. But the tool, what button you click is different. And I cannot guarantee the package manager that you click right here is going to be in another window, right? So if I teach you hey, You need to do like you need to go to package managers just like this, and you're gonna like memorize that. That's not gonna work, right? You need to know like why there is a package manager. Why do I do this? What if that changes? So those are the curiosity elements that we teach in our dev course, and it's your effort that you need to put in to build your thing, right? It's not like it's not more like a student or a teacher oriented class. We're trying to get you to work, and we are here to support you as much as possible.
Totally. That was again a better answer than I gave there. But we have one last one here. After learning C# and Unity, is it still advisable to learn C++ and Unreal?
That
Depends
also,
on what you want to do.
yeah, I think my previous answer kind of is the same for this. It totally depends on what you want, right? So there are like certain limitations of Unity, like for example, how it renders. The realism aspect of it is pretty different compared to Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is very different when it comes to like rendering things, and because it uses C++ as well. And in terms of getting into like development, I must say Unity is pretty easy. Because it just provides you a very basic platform to build like 2D games, 3D games, VR, AR. That's why I say it's more like a sandbox. So I must say you need to understand what you want to build. If you want to build a AAA game that has a lot of animations, cutscenes, and things like that, it's easier, it's less effort to do it in Unreal Engine, because the rendering, like the graphics are already there. But if you want to build, let's say a VR game, I must say Unity, a VR game which is low poly, like it doesn't use a lot of graphic element into it. I think it's better to go ahead with Unity, right? So that's just two of my suggestions. Like there are no right or wrong answers for that as well. But as I said, I'm not very familiar with Unreal Engine. I have used it a little bit, but you say, is it advisable to learn C++ and Unreal? I must say yes, because if I want to build something in Unreal Engine, if I want to build something realistic, I would choose Unreal Engine for that, and I need to learn for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I say it depends on, what your intended outcome is. If you're looking to build something hyper realistic, like I play games that are created on Unreal Engine, and I'm very well aware you couldn't have those through Unity, but I also play Unity games, and I love those, for completely different reasons. So, and this is of course just referencing games, but yeah, that's great. I think that was the last question that we had there. Just having a quick look through the chat tab, but I think we got everything there. So, and I guess we're 2 hours into the event here. So with that being said, I'll thank everybody for joining us here today. It was an amazing session. Thank you again, Indy, for sharing the workshop with us. Like I said, I love to have a moment where I get to kind of learn from you as well versus sitting beside you in an office. So yes, thank you everybody. The next event session that we have coming up, I believe, is on September 19th. We will be doing an information session on our development and our design boot camps that we offer as well. Those courses are a little bit longer than the 10-week one that we focused on today. So if you're interested in learning about the boot camps, join us on the 19th. The event link should be available on the website very soon if it's not already. But otherwise, thank you so much. Everybody have a fantastic day, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event. Bye.
Bye-bye.